a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hello, everyone. Ready for another episode of Small Talk? Well, I think it's going to be a good one. My guest is an 85-year-old instructor, teacher at George Brown College in Toronto, Ontario. Welcome to the show, Lance Carlson.
Did you have to tell my age?
Yes, especially because
it's not a secret.
No, I know. No, and listen, I'm like you. I put it out there. Who cares, right? And I think it's something to be proud of. You know, that's the way I look at it, right? So, I have to tell the audience where you grew up because this is so precious. He grew up at a small farm in the foothills he grew up in a small farm in the foothills of Alberta in a community called Westward Ho. I love it.
There you go.
That's so cool. But you went.
I assume, and I don't know for sure, there's a town on sort of Land's End in England called Westward Ho, so it might be named after that.
Oh, or they copied your town.
Yeah.
So no, but you were educated. You went to college in California.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Oh, it's long and complicated, but basically I decided I didn't want to spend my winters in Alberta anymore.
Yeah. That's I can understand.
Well, back then, and maybe they are now, the winters were pretty cold. I would walk 2 miles to catch a school bus in 50 below weather in the middle of the winter.
In those days, like we all walked everywhere, right? There was no.
Well, actually, I took my horse and I would tie him up, and the poor thing would stand there all day and wait for me, and I'd ride home. Or on some occasions, I'd just turn him loose and let him go back home on his own.
Right. I can remember when I lived in northern New Brunswick when I was a kid. We'd have to cross these. There's different ways to go to school, but one of them was to go down a hill, across the bridge, and up over these fields. And it'd be wide open, freezing cold. And the older ones would tell me, don't cry, your tears are going to freeze.
Right.
I hate the cold nowadays.
Yeah.
So let's get back to you now. So you returned to Canada, to Ontario in the 60s, correct?
Right.
And you were working in photography and quickly you transitioned to film production?
Yeah, I was a chemist for a couple of years in California.
Okay.
And I found that pretty boring. And I had sort of dabbled in photography throughout high school and college, so it was a bit of a natural. And so when I came to Toronto, I took a few jobs as a photographer's assistant, and then at one point I actually got a job for a company that made corporate and educational films.
Okay.
That's where I got my start.
So how did you become a teacher at George Brown College?
Well, as you wind down, when you reach a certain age, no matter how good or bad you are, people stop hiring you as a director of photography. I've seen it happen to others that were older or even better than myself, so it wasn't a shock. And I'd always mentored people. I'd mentored a number of young guys into the business, and they actually became A-list DOPs in Los Angeles and Hollywood. So, but I didn't go in that direction. I worked as a cinematographer and director and contract producer for mostly corporate and some documentaries.
Right.
As a filmmaker, I wasn't as prolific as I would like to have been, because it's just so difficult raising money.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any easier, although I don't know if I mentioned it, but maybe we can talk about it a little bit. I have it's my legacy project, which is a web series on clean energy.
Right. Yeah. So tell me more about that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is it's something, you know, I'm a bit of a tree hugger, and I've been collecting material for a number of years, and I actually presented it to Discovery Channel 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, and their response was that their audience is not interested in environmental subjects. And I couldn't believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they even read it. It was just one of their stock replies. And as support for Bell Fund development money, all the Canadian channels have turned it down. And I've got support from a couple of PBS stations and a large web distributor in the States. So
I wonder if it'd be
not an unusual story, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just wondering if it would be the same situation like today, you know, as we become hopefully more environmentally conscious.
Well, yeah, one would hope, and no, it is true. There's an awful lot of momentum amongst groups of all ages, types, sizes, all over the world. So yeah, it's encouraging, and I just have to start hitting a few of the right buttons, and I feel that once I get it launched, you know, there's so many companies investing in and building facilities, you know, companies, corporations, large and small, that it shouldn't be that difficult to get support in terms of sponsorship or
Right. Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
just big business that are the issue, in my opinion.
Well, yeah.
Just my opinion. In the meantime, now you teach cinematography, lighting and sound, introduction to film and video production, and also directing actors, right?
Right.
So what kind of a schedule do you have at the college?
Well, these are all in the what's called continuing education. So the courses are given in the evening. It's not full time. It's not what you'd call a day job.
Right.
But you know, along with the other things that I do and so on, you know, it's enough. It's a good balance. And I can draw on my experience in shooting and producing and directing and so on. You know, for me, it's perfect because it kind of, in a sense, keeps me engaged.
Yeah.
I'm not directly involved in the industry, although my daughter is a costume designer.
Nice.
Production designer.
But I appreciate the fact that you're able to do that at the college, that your age is not a factor, because I think it's important.
I actually brought that up with my employer at one point, and she just said to me, "No, it's not a problem here." So, and the fact that I keep getting rehired is based on evaluations that they get from the students, so which is usually pretty good.
Very good. Yeah. No, I think it's wonderful. You know, we know it's harder as we get older. Like I'm 75, so you know, I get it. As we get older, a lot of people will know we want to hire young
You're just a kid.
And we're the ones with the knowledge. Hello.
Yeah, right.
Let us mentor them, and then they can step in the position when as we die off or something like that. Right?
Yeah, right. Well, when we go, we go.
Yeah, for sure. Now you said, speaking of that, you said that your mother lived until she was 102, right?
Right.
And you intend to do the same?
Told her I'd do the same. So
yeah.
That's, luck and a good tailwind. Maybe I'll make
it. Well, good luck with that. We know we're living longer.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily better, but definitely longer.
Well, as I tell people, I live a clean, boring life. So
Don't be boring. So you did manage.
actually, it's not that boring.
No, okay, good. It doesn't sound boring to me anyway.
No.
So you actually did produce a few independent films, right?
Right.
So what were those about?
I did one for the nature of things, and it was just called Charlie, which ironically, that's my grandson's name, but there's no connection there.
Okay.
I he was named Charlie because his mother loved the Peanuts play that we took her to when she was a kid.
Okay.
But Charlie was a fascinating character. He was a fossil collector, and he worked for the famous Sternberg family. Charlie Sternberg was his name.
Okay.
They came from Kansas, and they worked in the Badlands of Alberta, and he ended up at the what's now called the Museum of Nature in Ottawa. And I came across him when he was, I think he was 93 or 94. So I said, somehow I have to interview this gentleman and you know, before he moves on. And he did. He lived for another 3 or 4 years, and was very appreciative of the film, and the film got great reviews. And so I've tried to do. I've done a few other nondescript documentaries for CBC, and did a series for TV Ontario, music video or music documentary.
Right.
So a little bit of everything. I'm kind of a generalist, which is why I can comfortably handle these normally diverse subjects of cinematography, production, and directing.
Yeah, for sure. So now your students are all mature students, correct?
Well, that's the interesting part. A few of them are just coming out of high school.
Oh.
But my last class in the fall, I had a 69-year-old. So, and that's not the first time I've had a 60-something in the class. It happens once in a while. But a lot of them are, you know, they're looking at my courses, or particularly the production course, as a introduction or orientation. Sometimes they're people who are already in the business and are looking to just expand a bit. A lot of them are immigrants who come to Canada, and they have no contact, you know, don't know where to go or what to do in terms of maybe tacking into the industry. And again, last fall, I had a student who came from Turkey, and he'd worked in the camera department for a number of years, and I was able to help him sign on with IATSE, you know, local 667 here, and also join the CSC, which I was vice president of. It's called executive vice president of for 10 years.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun. I mean, it's a volunteer position, as many of these
Yes.
You know, institutions are.
Right.
But
Now it says, yeah, you also involved with directing actors.
right.
So in what sense?
Well, the course, I make it easy on myself, and it's really exciting for the students, because depending on who you listen to, you know, there's no prerequisite for becoming a director. There's no education that can teach you to become a director.
Right.
And there was an English director who worked in the 70s on some of those old British sitcoms, and I think he's now teaching. He ended up teaching at a college in California. I think his name is McKendrick. Anyway, he makes the statement that you can't teach directing. You can only improvise and learn it on your own. So what I do in the course is, I give a couple of weeks of orientation and sort of technical and, blocking and very basic language, film language terminology. And the requirement of the course is that they submit a script for a short film or piece, and they direct it. So the rest of the class is taken up, and each student directs their own short film. And the beauty of it is that, that there's not a lot of kids in the class or people in the class, 10, 12 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
So each night that we're shooting a short film, everybody in the class sort of pitches in and is a support of one kind or another. So they actually get to work on, everybody gets to work on, 9 or 10 films, and they get to direct their own, and they come out of the class and they're absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So
that would be really fascinating, I think, to be involved in that.
Yeah.
Each person gets a chance to do something different, right?
Oh yeah, they write their own scripts.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been in a number of years ago, a number of student films, and they were so much fun.
Yeah, sure.
I really enjoyed that. Where was I was gonna ask you a question that just gone out of my head, which happens all the time. Now you also dabble in, you still do photography, right?
Yeah, I say that. Yeah, I do take still pictures. A friend of mine has a sort of blog on nature in the city sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So so aside from taking pictures of my grandkids, that's the other thing that I do.
And you like gardening?
Yeah, I live in a condo, so there's no gardening here, but there's a community garden group where I guess there's about 20-30 plots. So each plot goes to an individual, and we sort of manage it and run it ourselves. It's a city, it's within a city park, so it's administered by the city.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't provide us with any money. The fees are minimal, but it's a great venue for meeting your neighbors with an interest in gardening.
Right. Yeah. We have the same thing here in Chilliwack.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sure. Although I also in a condo, we have a small little piece of property that we can use for gardening.
Right.
So I've done that in the past. But I just, as I get older, I figured, I need something that's really like my level, this, up really high. So now you intend to just keep teaching until you can't anymore, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Like, why not?
Yeah, why not? And basically, my bosses have said, as long as you're comfortable here, you're welcome. So I have a cousin who's was a professor of geology in Saskatoon, and he still teaches. So I have this little dialogue going with him as who's going to carry on and how long we're going to carry on.
Yeah.
I'll turn 96 in April, so another 4 years, my God, I'll be 90, which sounds horrible, but so did 80 10 years ago.
For sure. That's right. I mean, I'm the same. I'm going to keep doing this until I can't pronounce the words anymore, or I'm already making mistakes, but I just call them creative glitches. So what the heck,
Sure.
And people don't seem to mind. So as long as you can get students, the college, I'm sure the college officials don't mind, right?
No.
It's still a win-win for everybody, is the way I see it.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I just hope you get to continue as long as you want to continue, you know, and I think that's totally,
Well, as long as I'm comfortable doing it,
Yeah.
I'll carry on.
yeah, for sure. And I think, again, I think that the college is wonderful for embracing that. I really do, you know, and I wish more colleges would do the same.
Yeah.
You know, we need
The,
to take more lessons from like the First Nations people who have such respect for the elders. Right.
yeah, right.
Right. You know, and we don't always seem to have that in the those of us of the
Well,
European descent.
Yeah, a lot of that seems to get lost.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, maybe we can bring it back. So now you mentioned your daughters. You have two daughters, right? And
Right.
one is a professional artist, and the other is a production design and arts teacher.
Not quite.
Oh, okay.
The older daughter is a costume designer transitioning into production design, and my younger daughter is a teacher, an art teacher, and is teaching in China at a Canadian high school. So it's ironic that it's very difficult to get a full-time job teaching art here. I've had students in my classes and they teach either theater or music or whatever, and they have to teach at like 3 or 4 different schools just to fill out their week.
Wow. Yeah.
And she taught in Durham, which is east of Toronto, for a while, and it was sketchy and so on. So she actually makes more money teaching in China,
Yeah.
does here in Ontario, and she gets a free apartment.
That's a perk. Yeah.
That is a perk.
Yeah. My son lives in China, in Shanghai, and
Oh yeah.
for a while he was a teacher teaching English, but now then he went to owning some schools, but then the Chinese government shut those down.
Yeah. Okay.
Something
Well, it's
else.
the Canadian school, and it seems to be well placed. So hopefully, I also have a friend that I mentored earlier on, Peter Marshall. He's from Vancouver. He was a production manager, producer for 30 odd years, and he teaches directing at the Vancouver Film School.
Mm-hmm.
They opened a branch in Shanghai, so he's been living in Shanghai.
His name rings a bell. I'm looking him up because his name rings a bell.
Yeah, if you've lived in Vancouver or West Coast for a number of years, you probably, or any connection with the film business, you would have run across him.
Yeah, I think I may have interviewed him.
Quite possible.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. So that's kind of interesting that we know that,
He's written a textbook that is, it's with respect to my directing course, it's far too complicated and too detailed. But I mean, it's very thorough, and for people who are serious about production management and directing, it's a great book.
Right, for sure. Well, this has been really interesting. Like I said, I'm glad that you're able to do what you do. I think it's wonderful. It's such a benefit for you and for the students that come, whether they're mature students or younger students. It doesn't really matter, does it? Everybody's learning something.
It doesn't. It's important. It's diverse. It's some classes are a mini United Nations, and it's fun. It really is fun.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah. Well, we're going to end it there to stay on camera.
Okay.
So to the audience, thank you for watching the show. You've been listening to Lance Carlson, and as I said, he's a teacher at George Brown College in Toronto, Ontario. And if you're in that area, and you're looking for taking some classes, look it up.
Hey,
might be some benefit. Might be some benefit for you. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. Take care and peace out.
Okay.
A sense of community, till the wax a place to be. A sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see.